What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for January 31st, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast, the last Feel Good Friday of January, a Super Bowl Feel Good Friday. It's a little bit more feel gooder than usual. And yes, I know that's not proper English for all of the English teachers out there. I know. Couple quick housekeeping notes before we get into it. Be sure to buy your Girl Scouts cookies from Ella. You guys have done a great job so far. She's so close to her goal. All the information you need is in the description. Buy a box, support her Girl Scout troops. You're going to buy them anyway, and if you've bought them already, you're probably out like we are, so buy more. You've been hearing her video or seeing her video, so go support her Girl Scout troops here on a Feel Good Friday. And then be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, all that other good stuff. Let's outsmart the algorithm and continue to spread the word. It's still a grassroots movement. I like where things are heading. Lots of momentum heading into February. So go spread the word, subscribe, and all that other good stuff. And then check out my boys over at the On Pattison newsletter. Gets delivered right to your inbox. Some great Philly sports coverage and takes in there. I mentioned yesterday we had a very similar mindset. So again, On Pattison, I am available for some freelance work if you so desire. But we're featured in there a couple times a week. So go subscribe to them. Delivered right to your inbox. Totally worth it. And support our friends over there at On Pattison. If you are interested in a Super Bowl block pool, the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame is running a fundraiser for this Super Bowl. That link is also in the description, $50, and basically it's like a split pot, and proceeds benefit the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame as we get ready for, it's already crazy to think we're gearing up for next year, or this year's induction ceremony in November, but all proceeds help put on that great event. So the link for the Super Bowl block pool is in the description, $50, multiple blocks if you so desire. And then today is the last day of January, which means it's our last day of forgiveness, and it's a big one. Starting tomorrow, though, we're going to start our annual Black History Month focus. This year, we're going to look at legacy makers and their Philly ties. So either folks from Philly, folks that played in Philly, or just legacy makers who have some sort of Philly tie. We're going to look at some pretty cool moments as well. So all of that kicks off tomorrow in honor of Black History Month. All right, Flyers have now lost 2 straight. They haven't scored a goal in 2 straight. Shut out 2 straight games, losing 3-0 to the Islanders last night. Things got a little heated in the second period. Matvei Michkov and Coach John Tortorella got into it. I did read some of the quotes after the game. Michkov was benched, but Tortorella said, listen, it's all part of the process. We're trying to really train him to be an NHL player, and it's all part of the growing pains and everything. All of this came among trade rumors, and the Flyers did announce a trade. They traded Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost to the Calgary Flames for 2 players and a couple draft picks. The players, not sure what they're going to do. They're both either an unrestricted or restricted free agent at the end of the year, but sort of like projects, potential. I saw a lot of folks say that they could have used a change of scenery. So we'll see what happens there. But it does free up some cap space. It gives Danny Briere and Keith Jones a lot more, or I shouldn't say a lot more, but more draft capital to play with in order to make this team better. And in light of 2 straight shutouts, Michkov yelling at the coach and trading away 2 guys that have been big parts of this year's team, but probably likely not going to be in the future plans, is a stark reminder that this is indeed a rebuild. We need to be patient with this team, but the future, as I've been saying, is bright. Now is the time to get in on the Flyers on the ground floor. Luckily for them, they have a few days to kind of figure it out, as they're off now until Sunday when they take on the Avalanche. Meanwhile, your team, your town, your red-hot 76ers are in action tonight at the Wells Fargo Center against the Denver Nuggets. Stop me if you heard this before. No Joel, no Paul George. We'll see. Last time they played, I think the Nuggets won by like 40 or 50 points. I don't know. I don't know what to think. 4 in a row. They're looking for their 5th straight. This is a game that they should probably get blown out of. But with the way they've been playing, who knows? The other news out of the Sixers yesterday was that the All-Star reserves were announced. No Sixers on the All-Star team this year. No Tyrese. Jarrett McCain was selected for the Rising Stars game, but obviously will not be playing in that due to injury. It's the Sixers. I don't know what to make of it. I will say, though, if they win this game tonight, if they beat the Denver Nuggets without Joe, without Paul George, I can honestly tell you tomorrow I'm going to be giving Lucy a call and saying, bring that football over here. This time is going to be different. 5 in a row against some very quality teams. One of the better teams in the West. One of the better teams in the East. You had the Kings and Lakers in there too. I'm telling Lucy to grab that football if they pull this one out tonight. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. OG NFC East episode is out. I'm about halfway through. I had a busy day at work, so I wasn't able to listen the way I normally do. But I got to say, the guys were really giving it to Greg. Poor guy. Team is in the Super Bowl and is getting ripped up and down by ridiculous arguments, I have to say, too. And I'll get more into some of the arguments here in a minute. But it's just amazing how delusional Giants and Cowboys fans are when it comes to this Eagles team. And it's just the hate is clouding their judgment to make rational, coherent thoughts. If you want to hear what I'm talking about, go check out the Clashing Conferences over wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then celebrate the Super Bowl with Philly Goat. They have you covered literally from head to toe, as seen on TV. Gear up for the post-Super Bowl Eagles celebrations. The Sixers, like I said, 4 in a row. Maybe they beat the Nuggets tonight, and it's time to get those positive Sixers shirts. I'm telling you, though, the Flyers, it's a work in progress, but they have you covered with the Flyers, too. Union are ready to start their season. They got you covered there. Pitchers and catchers in like 12 days. Hard to believe. Philly Goats got you covered for all your Philly sports needs. Go check them out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, some Eagles news. The big news out of Eagles camp yesterday was the practice window did open for Brandon Graham. He practiced yesterday, albeit a little bit limited. However, in his post-game interview, he said he's going in full blast. He said his cardio was good. He has a limited range of motion in some situations with the arm, but he's not going to play if he's not going to be able to play at 100%. I also think I don't expect him to play the number of snaps that he was pre-injury, but I really do think just his presence in uniform is going to be a huge emotional boost to the team, and anything you get out of him is great. And it's a great story, and it's kind of one of those things that's shaping up. You see some of the X's and O's storylines and things like that happening. Obviously, the big one is the Chiefs going for the three-peat. But Brandon Graham did say before the beginning of the year this is going to be his last year. People were questioning that because of the way he was playing and how well he was playing. And then the injury happened. Going out with a Super Bowl title, one of the few players to win 2 in this team's history, would be a pretty cool accomplishment. So we'll see how that goes as the week progresses. The other thing I've noticed, and I remember this now from the 2022 Super Bowl, the Madden simulations are out on YouTube. Yes, I watched Madden simulations of the Super Bowl. I've watched one so far. Eagles come out on top 30-23 in overtime. Jalen Hurts with the game-winning scramble. And then the defense shut down Patrick Mahomes on the ensuing drive in overtime. But 30-23, the Eagles win. It's our first Madden simulation. And let me know, am I the only crazy one that actually watches people post their simulations of the Super Bowl and act like it and sit here and act like it's a real game? Just me? I thought so. But let me know your thoughts on that. All right. So sometimes, and peeking behind the curtain here a little bit, sometimes when I'm prepping and making my notes and everything, like obviously I have the this day and everything, but the when I go over the state of the teams each day, a lot of that is headline and whatever happened news dependent, I guess you could say. But this one, it's been all year. It's been all year, and I've been letting it go. I have said a couple things on this a few times, but at this point, I need to get this out. And let's talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts here. And the amount of hate, disrespect, underappreciation, and just flat out ridiculous takes, it's out of control. Yesterday I saw some, and these are all, I'm not going to give them the credit that they're looking for to give them the clickbait, because like I said, I get it. You're looking for clicks and trying to figure out that algorithm. But I had Bo Nix is greater than Jalen Hurts. Legitimate take. Bo Nix, after one season in the NFL, is greater than Jalen Hurts. If you want to give me Jaden Daniels, okay, you can kind of make that argument. But Bo Nix, come on now. The other one, well, it's the team. And I hear this a lot, and I mentioned the clashing conferences. A lot of people on there, specifically Giants and Cowboys fans, mention this. Well, if you take away Saquon Barkley, what would he do? Well, without Saquon Barkley, he went to the Super Bowl. And guess what? You can take away Saquon Barkley if you want, but he's on our team. And, oh, well, look at the offensive line. Okay, your team is capable of doing the same thing the Eagles are doing. Well, he has great weapons on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Okay, again, your GM can do it because your GM and ownership group is not in sync the way that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are. And I've talked about this before. One of the ways that Howie Roseman is able to pull off the black magic that he does is because he has 110% support from Jeffrey Lurie. Everybody's like, oh, well, eventually, I've been hearing this for 20 years, eventually this cap management's going to catch up to them. No, it's not, because they have the free cash flow in order to make it work. So my question is, how come the Dallas Cowboys aren't doing something like this? Because they're idiots. Your general managers are idiots. Your ownership group can't be as serious about winning as they claim they are if they're not going to pull off some of the things that Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman are able to do. Is that Jalen Hurts' fault? No. Don't rip my quarterback because your GM and ownership group suck. Like, it's ridiculous. Well, yeah, okay. There's very few quarterbacks out there that are that elite generational talent that are going to make the players around them better. You had guys like Tom Brady did it for years with nothing. And I'm not saying Donovan McNabb is a generational quarterback, but Donovan did so much with so little for so many years. Jalen Hurts isn't that kind of guy. He doesn't have to be. You have an ownership group and a general manager who are putting him in a position to succeed. That's not Jalen's fault, and all Jalen's done is succeed with what he's given and what he has. It's bizarre to me. This dude is a winner. Yes, does it look like Peyton Manning in his prime, Drew Brees in his prime when they're throwing for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns? No, but it doesn't have to be. If he throws for 115 yards, rushes for a touchdown, and Saquon has 150 and 2 touchdowns, and the defense plays lights out, how is that Jalen's fault? Jalen hasn't turned the ball over since November. I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre to me, the amount of hate that this guy gets. And then you had Cam Newton yesterday and said, well, Jalen's only good because he's in the NFC. If he was in the AFC, do you think he'd be going to 2 Super Bowls? Well, let me break this down. And first of all, it's different because you have Patrick Mahomes, probably one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks in playoff time in the history of the game. So, yeah, it would be a little bit harder with that, Cam. However, let me break down some numbers for you, Cam. Since Jalen has been the regular starter for the Eagles, he is 15-4 versus the AFC in the regular season. 15-4. 3 of those losses in the regular season came in 2021, his first year at the starter, when the team wasn't quite as good. It was Sirianni's first year as coach. They were trying to figure it out, and they really went on a run late. 15-4 against AFC quarterbacks, which means he has a worse record in the NFC than he does the AFC, Cam. So it's not by much. It's similar, but I don't know about that. And look at the quarterbacks he's beaten. He beat Joe Burrow in the regular season. He beat Lamar Jackson in the regular season this year. Last year, he went to Kansas City and beat Patrick Mahomes. He beat Josh Allen in a shootout last year. So stop. Don't give me the, if he was in the AFC type deal. 15-4. He's beaten Burrow. He's beaten Mahomes. He's beaten Allen. He's beaten Lamar Jackson, who everybody says are the top 4 quarterbacks in the league. Jalen Hurts beat them. So the takes and the disrespect is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't matter who's in front of him. It doesn't matter what the team is, who's doing what. Jalen Hurts is a winner. So I don't understand it. And we're approaching, even here in Philly, the Ryan Howard levels of underappreciation and disrespect for what this man does. And yes, it's still early in his career. If they win on next Sunday, I guarantee you the narrative is going to look a little different. But he's approaching Ryan Howard levels of underappreciation. And I tell you all the time, Ryan Howard is hands down the most underappreciated athlete that this city has ever had. And Jalen Hurts is getting way more underappreciated than him. So that does lead me to today's question of the day. What is the reason for the underappreciation and the disrespect for Jalen Hurts? Is it because he doesn't have the gaudy stat lines? Is it like an unbiased Philly hate on a national level? Is it something else? Let me know. What's the reason for the Jalen Hurts disrespect? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. But I'm sick of it. Like the fact that Cam Newton comes out and says, if he was in the AFC, would he have gotten to the 15-4, Cam? 15-4. And if you want to throw in the Super Bowl, 15-5. That's a hell of a record, dude. And I can't take Cam Newton serious because he was like, well, I'd take the MVP over a Super Bowl title because that meant I did my job. Well, how about you do your job as an analyst, do your research, and know that Jalen Hurts is extremely successful against AFC teams. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is playing the Raiders, who are terrible, the Broncos, who have been pretty terrible recently, the Chargers, who can't get out of their own way. But sure, tell me about Jalen Hurts' lack of success against the AFC, Cam. 15-4. He's beaten Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson all within the past 2 years. They're the top 4 quarterbacks in the league, right? Exactly. All right, let's recap before we get into our forgiveness. Yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, what scares you more, the Chiefs' offense or the Chiefs' defense? 54% of you, was pretty close, said the Chiefs offense. Do want to give a shout out to the Bro Code on TikTok, who said, can we have an option C, the officials? And we did talk about that the other day, but we're not going there. We're not going there. All right, so I'm all fired up about the Jalen and the media stuff. So let's get into the forgiveness first before we do today's This Day. And today, on the final day, this is probably going to be the toughest one for all of us to do. But it's the Super Bowl, so we have to do it. Today we're going to forgive sports media both nationally and locally here in Philadelphia. And let's start with the national media. There's a hate. There's a bias against the Eagles, and a lot of times Philly teams in general. The Sixers, probably rightfully so, but they get hate. The Phillies get hate. It's just, I don't get it, and I'm not sure why. I think it's a lazy narrative. I think it's an uneducated narrative. And specifically with Jalen, I mean, look at Cam. Obviously, he didn't do his research. He's just spitting out hot takes for the sake of spitting out hot takes. But it's lazy. It's absolutely lazy. And especially when it comes to the Philadelphia fans. They're way harder on Philly fans than they are any other fan base. You got people out in LA at a Dodgers-Giants game that are getting stabbed. But I'm not condoning what this guy did. But the big story was, look at this scumbag Eagles fan who used the C word against a Packers fan. We're not stabbing people after a game because our team lost, but you don't hear that because it's not cool. I told you yesterday about the Buffalo Bills Mafia gets all this love for contributing to charities. The Eagles doubled Tailgate Tom or whatever, I forget his name now, but the dude from Washington, they doubled the money he raised in his fundraiser. You don't hear about that. You just hear about, an Eagles fan took a Commanders guy hat walking out of the stadium that the Commanders fan was actually laughing about. I've seen that happen a lot of times. It's all in good fun, but you don't hear the fundraiser thing. And then, of course, it all goes back to the low-hanging fruit. Well, you threw snowballs and booed Santa. Guess what? That happened 50-some years ago, and that guy totally deserved to get booed. He said he'd boo himself, and it was, again, all in good fun. But Howard Cosell, a national media guy, saw an opportunity to shit on Philly, and here we are. Well, you had a jail at the vet. Okay. Our fans act bad or have bad behavior sometimes. So does every other fan base. I see videos coming out of Dallas with Cowboys fans beating the crap out of opposing fans. So don't give me that. It's low-hanging fruit, it's uneducated, and it's lazy. And now for the local media. This is a tough one for me because obviously I'm kind of indirectly in the media in the local level here and looking to get into the more mainstream local media. However, you got guys like Marcus Hayes who try to make the story about them. You got the whole Joel Embiid thing. He was very outspoken about the A.J. Brown thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. They force stories. They try to force narratives. They're tough on the players, and I will give local Philly media this as credit. They do hold players and teams accountable. But I think sometimes we're so ingrained, and I talk about the old Philly mentality so much, we're so ingrained with that old Philly mentality that we need to shift the gear and appreciate what we have, a.k.a. Jalen Hurts. Appreciate the fact that this dude's a winner. And then on the radio, I think a lot of times people get caught up in those people that call. And if you ever listen to any of the shows, it's 90% of the callers are the same callers every day. They're like characters. It's a shtick. It's a bit. And they don't make up, their views don't make up the majority of what Philly fans feel. I mean, I would love to call into the radio station, but I don't have the time or energy to do it. I would love to refute some of the things that those people say, but it's not good for ratings. And again, the whole A.J. Brown thing last year, like I thought it was great that A.J. called in and laid it out on the line and said, this is all BS. Here's how I feel. I ain't going nowhere. I don't want to go anywhere. So I think sometimes people take whatever you hear on Philly Sports Radio as gospel and the true opinion of what 90% of the takes on there I don't agree with. Like I'm like gripping the steering wheel when I'm listening because it makes me so angry. And then of course we forgave Angelo for this, but the stupid Dirty 30 bit when they went up and booed McNabb really impacted and affected, and we forgave Donovan for not getting over it too. But like these are the things that happen, and I get it. because it's all about ratings. It's all about likes and subscriptions and all of that. Trust me, I get it every day, and it's hard. I could come in here all the time and just rant, rave, scream, and probably get more likes. But for me, I believe in what I do, and like I'm trying to do it the right way. And again, there's a difference between being too tough and over the line. And I think a lot of times with the local media, they walk that line and go on either side of it very freely. And it is. But now that I'm all fired up, my blood pressure is probably through the roof between the Jalen stuff and now this. We have a Super Bowl to go out and win, and we've been forgiving those who have trespassed against us the entire month of January. It's time we forgive the media, both nationally and locally, because you know what? Just because they say something doesn't mean it's true. Just because Cam Newton says Jalen Hurts was in the AFC, he wouldn't be as good, does not mean it's true. I think it's time we all just start thinking more independently, having our own thoughts, and go from there. So local media, I forgive you. National media, despite how lazy and uneducated your takes are, I forgive you. I feel better this whole month. I feel like giant weights have been lifted off of my shoulder. Thank you for your support throughout this month. It's been fun. It's been great. Going through forgiving, and it's been bringing us good luck. So the last one here, I saved the biggest one for last. Let's go out there. We have good karma now. Let's go win the Super Bowl. And then finally today, we're going to go back to 2002. And on this day in 2002, Harry Kalas was voted the Ford C. Frick Award winner, essentially making him a Hall of Fame broadcaster. And Harry was the voice of the Phillies from 1971 till he passed away in 2009. Came in at the opening of the vet, replacing a legend, Bill Campbell. And it was a mixed reaction when he first came in. But over time, he grew on Philly fans. Excuse me. He became one of us. And I talk about this all the time. His voice and Richie Ashburn is like the soundtrack of my summertime as a kid. Everybody has a Harry Kalas impersonation. I'm too fired up right now to do it any justice. But his calls were just legendary. I mean, take your pick. Mike Schmidt's 500th home run. My personal favorite was Mitchie Poo when they won the game at 4:41 a.m., when they won the 93 division. Of course, the Chase Utley, "You are the man." And probably the biggest one and my favorite is the 2008 World Series call when Brad Lidge struck out Eric Hinsky. But again, tell me what your favorite, just have an extra fun bonus with this. What is your all-time favorite Harry Kalas call? And if you want to do the impression on the Back to the Future voice and text line, you can have a chance to be on the podcast. Maybe we can have a Harry Kalas imitation contest. But Harry the K went into the Hall of Fame in 2002, named the Ford C. Frick Award winner on this day. And it was even better for me and even more special, I think, because when he went into the Hall of Fame that year, that summer, Ozzie Smith was the only inductee into the Hall of Fame. And growing up, Ozzie Smith was my favorite non-Phillies player. I played shortstop. I always wore number 1. Still, whenever I get a chance to play anything or pick a jersey number, I always pick number 1 because of Ozzie Smith. So Ozzie and Harry went in together. But on this day in 2002, it was Harry Kalas being named the Ford C. Frick Award winner, basically becoming a Hall of Fame broadcaster, the voice of the Phillies, the soundtrack of my childhood. Harry the K, named to the Hall of Fame on this day in 2002. We forgave the media. I feel better. My blood pressure's starting to come down now. Obviously, we'll have more on the Eagles' results from practice today, as well as they gear up to fly down to New Orleans on Sunday. Be sure to let me know what's the reason for the Jalen Hurts hate. Any reason? I'm perplexed. I do not know what it is. We'll have an update on the Sixers tomorrow. Yay. And I'll come on with a football if they win. Getting ready for Lucy to hold that football down. I'm going to kick it this time. All right, it's a feel-good Friday, though. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for January 31st, 2025. Don't forget, we kick off our Black History Focus tomorrow. But go have yourselves a feel-good Friday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.